I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is regular council meeting. Twinsburg Government Center, council chambers. It is 7:45. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Here.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Mr. Bellin?
Here.
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Ms. McFerrin?
Okay, at this time, I'd like everyone to rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Mr. Barr.
Thank you. Father, we seek your guidance for the business that is before us. In planning for the future of the city of Twinsburg, give us vision. Guide us to make decisions that are not self-serving, but for the betterment of our community, so we can continue to move in a positive direction. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to get approval of the minutes from February 13th, 2018. Any changes? Okay,
I
then.
did have just one change.
Did you?
And I addressed it with the clerk before the meeting. Mr. Razor's name is R-A-S-O-R, not R-A-Z-O-R. Was the only thing I noticed.
Okay, noted then. Okay, then the minutes will stand with the correction, right, on the spelling. Any awards or presentations?
There are none.
There are none. Okay, audience participation?
There is none.
There is none. Then we're going to move on to council communication and committee reports. Mr. Fury.
Thank you and good evening. On Tuesday, February 16th, the Twinsburg CIC met. Items on the agenda were to review the budget, discuss lane properties and where we're at with getting asbestos quotes, public communication, and we rescheduled the next meeting for March 20th at City Hall at 6 p.m. On February 24th, I had the opportunity to go to a CPR training at Cosmos and Damien, sponsored by the Twinsburg Rotary, the Twinsburg CERT team, and the Twinsburg Fire Department. Our fireman Michael Lang did an outstanding job of training the 40 people that was probably 25 in my group and then another 20 in the afternoon. We'd like to thank Shannon Collins, who was one of the organizers and works just about every extracurricular activity within the city. But it was really well done. I think they're going to continue to do them. It was both for people that just wanted to get updated on how to use an AED and CPR, as well as professional certification that teachers and other professionals need for their jobs. On Monday, the 19th, I had an opportunity to attend a Friends of the Twinsburg Park meeting at Brewster's. This is a group that is an offshoot from Twinsburg Park and Rec, and is a nonprofit that is organizing to help supplement capital items and support for the Twinsburg Park and Rec group. They're on Facebook, as well as they have a website, www.friendsoftwinsburgpark.com. If you're interested, their membership's there. The meeting's open. They have about 100 members so far, and it looks like they're really moving forward. Their next big event will be Earth Day, which I'm sure I see lots of people are going to talk about Earth Day on the 21st. So, but they'll have a presence there. And lastly, I had a letter from the Community Hunger Center, and Terry Petitro said, they're gearing up for Easter, and they plan on serving a 3-day family meal for over 140 people. So they're looking for those that can donate Easter baskets for children, as well as funds or food to help supplement that. In January, they served 1,017 people in Twinsburg, consisting of 301 seniors, 506 adults, and 210 children. the stats they get are kicked out of the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank, and that's who they have their partnership with as a Choice Food Pantry. If you're interested in supporting our Community Hunger Center, it's located at 9733 Ravenna Road, and their telephone number is 330-963-FOOD, which is 3663. And that's all I have this evening, and thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Steele?
Which one?
Let's see now, the ARB met on February the 15th. They approved a couple of changes in signs. The biggest one that we'll see is Circle K's changing their signage at their station. New signs on the walls. The canopy is going to be changed. It's going to be red at the top with an orange stripe around the bottom, and new signs all around. They approved a new home on Maryville, single-family house. And then Mr. Finch was there at the meeting to discuss the downtown development with the ARB. And there was some good discussion about it. I had a couple of questions that I asked Mr. Finch. One was, are we removing all the bricks out of the existing thing and just going back to plain old dirt down there? And he said yes. There is a concern with the ARB, and I kind of share it with them, that we have a unique, distinct design, something in the downtown when we do it that is our draw, our niche for the city, our city of Twinsburg. It doesn't, something that other developments like down in Hudson or Legacy Village or one of the Crocker Park, something that we have that they may not, okay? I was a little concerned in the statement that Larry made that, it's the developer and what his design is going to be. Hopefully we will get our input from us and the residents, and hopefully a lot of that will get incorporated into it. And that was the end of the meeting, so.
Okay.
And nothing else has met.
All right, thank you. Mr. Scafidi?
Thank you. Good evening. The Board of Zoning Appeals has not met since our last meeting, and their next meeting has yet to be determined, so I'll keep everybody posted on that. The Finance Committee meeting is also for next month, has not been scheduled yet, or a firm date has not been committed to, so we'll be looking forward to nailing down a date to have that next meeting. Other than that, my other committees have not met, and I just wanted to say one thing. A couple weeks ago, I had the chance to work at Rush Hour Grill. It was a fundraiser for our CERT team, our Community Emergency Response Team, and my opportunity was back behind the bar serving the people that came there. And the place was packed, and it was quite an event, and proud to say that I was able to work here. We raised some good money. I believe there'll be some other discussion about it. I know it was over $2,000 for sure for CERT, but after spending 4 hours behind that bar and serving all the customers, I certainly have a new respect for bartenders, and I will never rush them again if I'm on the other side, because it's a little difficult doing that. So again, it was a good event, and I was proud to be a part of that. And that's all that I have tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. My committees have not met. There will be a Planning Commission meeting on March 5th, 2018, here in council chambers at 7 o'clock. Mr. Bellin?
Thank you. Good evening. The Golf Advisory Board, the next meeting will be Tuesday, March 20th at 6:30 p.m. Public Works and Fitness Advisory Board have no meetings scheduled at this time. There are still several openings for boards and commissions. If you are interested, please apply no later than March 5th at 4:30 p.m. on mytwinsburg.com. There are 17 openings: Architectural Review Board, City Civil Service Commission, Environmental Commission, Glen Eagles Advisory Board, and Parks and Rec. Within Parks and Rec, those are ward specific. There's 3 openings: Ward 3, 4, and 5. I too was at the celebrity bartendering event. I'd like to thank all the residents that came out to support CERT. I'd like to thank my fellow council members that got behind the bar. I would like to echo Mr. Scaffidi's statement that it is not easy back there. If you've never done it before, it's not easy. So I enjoyed my time. I'd also like to thank Ms. Collins, Ms. Moore, Mr. Rodick, Mr. Basso, and all of the other members of CERT and that came out to help. It was a great event, and I was thrilled to be a part of it. I think that's all I've got for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barr?
The good part about going last is everybody's already talked about everything. Finance has not been scheduled, but keep checking back. As soon as we have a date, we'll let you know. There is a Safety Commission meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March 13th. So that'll be our first meeting of the year. Look forward to attending that, and I'll have a report at the following council meeting. From the Environmental Commission, again, please keep Earth Day in your day timers. If I don't mention that, Daisy, you'll yell at me. April 21st, we want to see everybody there. We want a big turnout for that. Also, just wanted to report on the Simple Recycling Program that we participate in. It's the curbside service for the Twinsburg residents. That we collect everything from small electrical appliances, clothing, housewares, shoes, purses. A lot of those items are items that maybe aren't suitable for donation through other channels, whether it's Purple Hearts or AmVets or those type of things. So stuff that might otherwise see the trash, that Simple Recycling Program a lot of times doesn't utilize them necessarily as housewares or clothing, but they actually, you'll take the fibers and things like that and recycle those materials kind of at their base level. So it's a real neat program. Last year in Twinsburg, we picked up almost 28,000 pounds. It was 27,994 pounds. Our next Environmental Commission meeting is March 8th, which is a Thursday, here in council chambers at 7 p.m. Finally, I think we raised 2,300 was the total, or right thereabouts, for the CERT team, which I believe they are going to use for the purchase and acquisition of some new radio equipment. I can't say thank you enough to everybody that helped out, all of our volunteers and spouses and family members and everything else. It was a really great time, and really just nice to see such an outpouring of support for people that often are kind of behind the scenes, and we don't really notice them until we're at an event and they're there directing traffic and helping out in an emergency situation. So this is well-deserved. That is all I have this evening, and go on from there.
Well, thank you. Mayor?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Short report tonight, but just wanted to thank everyone that came out for the State of the City. We had a good turnout. I know it's early in the morning. I don't mind the early mornings, but I know a lot of people were complaining about getting up early for a breakfast meeting, but it was a good turnout, and hopefully everyone left there with a little bit more information about what went on in 2017 here in Twinsburg. Want to just recognize Wade Wooten. So this is a resident that is being honored by the Red Cross for an act of courage. They do this for numerous individuals around the Northeast area, and Mr. Wooten was someone last year that we had a fire at an apartment complex, and he was able to scale up a back porch area, an elevated back porch, get into a building, basically search the apartment that was on fire, and pull a lady to, really saved her life, just pulled her out of that. And he's actually part of our CERT team now. Super guy. We got to know him a little bit during that whole event and recognized him at a council meeting, but he's just been honored by the Red Cross for that act of courage. Next, I just want to highlight a couple events for Parks and Rec that are coming up that are big events for the city that if you haven't registered for, these are parents. All of our Easter events are occurring on March 31st. So we have our candy scramble that's going to go on. I think there's the breakfast with Easter Bunny. We have our wet Easter egg hunt, so that is for a little bit older kids. We dump a bunch of money in the pool, in the door pool, and let them go dive for it. But sign up for that. And then, the last thing I just want to talk about is, and this was, Ms. McFerrin's not here, so Parks and Rec are wanting council to at least have a discussion regarding, and it doesn't have to be tonight, but I want to just put on your radar, TBL has approached Parks and Rec with significant amount of funding to be able to match, in essence, match the construction of a new ball field up at Liberty. And so while it would create an additional expenditure for the city, it's just something that I think we ought to discuss and talk about, and the timing of it, and go forward with it. I know we have plans to continue to enhance Liberty Park. That's something that we've been talking about for a period of time, as we've kind of tightened up our belts the last year or so, and we continue to do that. I just don't want to ignore the efforts that TBL has made to try to make this project happen. So we can put that on an agenda at a next caucus meeting and, have a discussion. And then lastly, I just want to, she's been very quiet over there, welcome Ms. Sarah Bucci-Gross as our new finance director. She will be giving her first report tonight, and it's nice to have that seat backfilled again. So, but before we get to her, you always go last. So I don't know if you realize that. We always save the money part for last. But I know Colette's got a report tonight.
You're up soon.
Good evening, everybody. The Civil Service Commission met last Thursday, February 22nd. We finally completed our complete review of the civil service rules. So our next meeting, we're going to go through the I've made all the changes as we went through them. So these latest changes, I made the changes, sent them back to the commission, and we're going to do one more meeting with a complete rewrite and sit down and read it all through with all the changes. Because as we've been making the changes, we have, they're redlined out, and they've got notes on the side and everything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just accept everything on the Word document, and then we'll be easy to read everything. So we're going to go through it one more time before we have to have our public hearing to approve all those changes. And they were a lot of significant changes. The document hadn't really been thoroughly gone through since probably the 70s or something, since it was first introduced. Then the next meeting for the civil service is March 15th. So in HR, we have completed our open enrollment meetings. At this point, everybody has resubmitted their plan selection, so that all went very, very well. We did get a few more people to switch over to the HSA, and as you know, that plan performs much better for us, so that's encouraging. Our seasonal hiring is in full swing. We've had the ads out, and the different departments are now in the process of notifying the seasonal candidates that they've been selected, and we'll start with collecting all those new hire documents. The Bureau of Workers' Comp has a fabulous and free Safety Congress Expo next week in Columbus, so I'll be attending that for 2 days. It's a broad range of very pertinent topics as far as the administration of workers' comp, but also a lot of safety kinds of things too. So I know a lot of service department staff and that from different cities and from all the employers. Like I said, it's free from the Bureau of Workers' Comp, so it's a pretty nice seminar, plus there's credit for different professional certifications. For the restaurant staffing, I have talked to James and Abby. At this point, we have identified the different positions and estimated approximately how many waiters, how many bartender kind of positions. It comes out to about 47. So we'll be advertising those positions before too much longer. We've had the one position we did advertise out there for the restaurant manager, and we'll be doing a couple interviews on that. But otherwise, the rest of those part-time positions will be going out before too much longer. And speaking of the restaurant staffing, I know we talked very briefly about public employees accepting tips, and so we did get from the Metro Parks, they have a restaurant, so I was able to get from their finance person some language that they used in their ordinances to allow certain employees, bartenders, waitresses, who naturally accept tips, for those employees also to accept tips even though they're public employees. So we will be introducing that at some point in our salary ordinance. Just as time permits, I've been trying to redo some of our forms for the new hire. I just really want to get to the point with our new hire forms where they can fill out the tax forms and other forms, and then just hit submit, and we can just electronically get those forms. So creating filling forms is one thing, but getting them to electronically submit and keep the candidate's name and all that is a little tougher. So as time permits, I'm trying to investigate that process. And then I did attend the Compensation Committee meeting a couple weeks ago, and I have requested some input from the department heads, so you guys will be hearing back once I receive those submissions. In the IT department, our employee security awareness training, which focuses on ransomware and other types of security threats, that's ongoing. The training closes, that's for our employees that Zach, our part-time IT guy, kind of administers that program. He does a really great job. We have about 75% of the employees that have participated so far. They have a few more days, and they go in and they take they watch the little videos and they take little tests, and then he runs these other little scamming tests on them to see if they pass. So it's a pretty nice program. And then we have new access points in the fitness center. They're up and working, and we have used 186.7 gigabytes so far since the installation. So that's that, and that's it. That's all my report.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Sarah, you're up.
Hi. Good evening, everybody. I just want to say thank you real quick to everybody here at Twinsburg. The welcome has been so warm. Everybody's been so kind, and I couldn't ask for a better staff. Even just in the 2 days that I've known them, they work so hard to get everything done. And Karen has been kind enough to come back and give some of her time to spend with me to get caught up and just learn a few things that she's left behind for me. So I do have some good news. The taxes are up. For February, we were up $120,000 over last year. So we were just under $2 million in February collections, and that includes $30,000 in refunds. So for the year to date, we're up a little over 8%.
That's great. Awesome.
All right, that's all the report we have. I just want to mention one topic I forgot to mention. So we've been getting a lot of questions about the Taste of Twinsburg. It didn't happen last year. It was run by its own organization. We wanted to see it stay alive because I thought it was a really fun event. And so the city is now, with help probably from the chamber, going to help keep that alive. And then what we've done is we've partnered it with the market on the square. So if you went to any of those events last year, Jackie Thompson, who runs the market on the square, it's going to be called Wild Roots. She's rebranding it to Wild Roots this year. We're going to do a combination event, Taste of Twinsburg and market. So it'll be like a 2 to 7 versus like hers usually started earlier in the morning till the afternoon. So it'll be like a 2 to 7 event. It is going to go on June 9th. So mark your calendars. And I'm glad to announce that Taste of Twinsburg is back alive.
Great.
And that's all I have.
Okay, great, well, thank you.
June 9th.
Okay, at this time, we will go ahead and move on to legislation. Shannon?
Resolution 23, 2018, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an LPA federal local let project agreement with ODOT establishing the requirements for the federal funds associated with the Ravenna Road resurfacing project from Richner Avenue to East Idlewood Drive.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 23, 2018. Is there a second?
A second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. Any discussion?
This is acceptance of $628,000 of a grant to do from Richner to Idlewood on Ravenna Road. There's a 20% match, and the project should be completed before the end of 2018.
Any other discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Resolution 23, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote. Next, we have Ordinance 24, 2018.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 101, 2017, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2018, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules on Ordinance 24, 2018, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
A second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Bellin. Any discussion?
The reason for the emergency is that we have received the grant money, and this allows us to deposit it into this year's budget.
Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ordinance 24, 2018 passes,
Emergency.
emergency, yeah, it passes as an emergency. Wait, and now I need to start again, I apologize.
Adopted as an emergency.
Emergency.
Adopted as an emergency, I'd like to adopt it, okay. I'd like to adopt ordinance 2014-24.
We just did the emergency, now we have to
Now
adopt
we have
as
to
an
adopt.
emergency.
I didn't do-
Second. Your motion.
Second, to adopt as an emergency.
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Any discussion? Sorry, guys, I'm off my game tonight. Any discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ordinance 24, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote as an emergency. Next, we have ordinance 25, 2018.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 101, 2017, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2018, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, this time I'd like to make a motion to put ordinance 25, 2018 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ordinance 25, 2018 passes by a 6-0 vote as an emergency. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2000, or 25, 2018. Is there a second?
A second.
I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Fury. Any discussion?
reas-
Oops, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The reason for the emergency is that we received a donation for the Friends of the Park in the amount of $1,696 to help them to start it up. But it was given to the city because they didn't have an account to place as a placeholder. So basically, we're putting this back into their account, and we need to pass this in order to do it as soon as possible. We've already had the money for 6 weeks. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any further discussion? Good. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Okay, that is the end of our legislation. This time we'll move on to unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous. Mr. Fury?
Do you want to discuss ball field money now or at the next meeting?
I think, well, Joanne was at that meeting, so I thought it'd be helpful if she was around to share more of her thoughts.
I
Okay.
thought we needed more information because when I asked about it today, I was told that we needed more information because I asked what was our share.
Yeah, we
of
don't
the
know that
plan,
number
the
yet, so-
engineering portion of it, and nobody seemed to be able to answer
I know
that,
what their
so-
share was going to be proposed, but I
Well,
think,
we were going to split it with them, but we don't know what the total cost was.
well, a ballpark, I think we,
Derek, I talked to Derek, sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I talked to Derek this afternoon, and he indicated that he's going out to get pricing on it, so we should have more information probably by the next meeting.
That's what we should wait for then.
Yeah.
okay. Is he going to get the parking lot as well as the field?
I didn't discuss the parking lot with him, so, mean-
You stick another field out there, you need a parking lot.
that changes the dynamics probably, but.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Significantly, 'cause
Where-
we've looked at this before.
Do we have a proposed part of the park, or are you?
Yeah, I think it's up, that would be southeast of the ball field 4 up there. Is it? I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Then, so that's be the south end of the existing complex?
Correct.
Yeah, if it's back behind 4, that's why that is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna need something, because grandparents aren't gonna walk away.
It's already a hike back there at 4.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. That's with some makeshift parking up, yeah, by the path. So,
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Apologies.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Steele?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Mr. Scafidi?
I have nothing.
I did attend the Twinspirations, the Toastmaster Club. They had a guest speaker, and it's a really, seems like a really nice group of people. They meet on Mondays at 7 p.m., but it was a nice organization that for residents here in Twinsburg. If anyone is interested, there's a they're on the webpage, but it's worth looking into. I think they do a very nice job. I know it was a battle getting there. I believe it was their 5-year anniversary. It might have been their 10-year anniversary. And then I also wanted to say that there were a lot of people at that CERT, the rush hour, and I think it was really a great night, and it is such a wonderful organization. So I want to thank all of the CERT members for everything they do and all the hard work that they put in. Mr. Bellin?
Thank you. Just a couple things. The Joanne Lila Place and Terrace construction project is starting shortly. There's a pre-construction meeting, I believe, on Tuesday the 6th. Is that correct, Amy? Yes. And that'll be here in council chambers. I wanted to, with the tragedy in Parkland, just kind of wanted to send out my thoughts. I've had several emails and phone calls from residents asking, what we're doing in Twinsburg to keep our children safe and those kind of things. I've sent a couple emails and had some conversations both with members of council, the mayor, school board. I got an email from the school board president, Mr. Salura, and he said, I'm going to read his email. He said, recently the board approved a contract with an outside firm to help facilitate an updated strategic plan for the next 5 years. One of the areas of this plan will be safety and security. As we do with all areas of this plan, we will be engaging the community, both through surveys, forums, and panels, and we would gladly welcome you and anyone else interested to be part of this. Not only as a councilman, but as a father of 3 in the Twinsburg School District, I will be involved in that. And then on a little bit more positive note, the Dodge Mother-Son Dance is on Friday evening, and they're looking for some volunteers. A lot of the volunteers that normally help out are going to be attending the event. So they're looking for some volunteers. They have a Sign Up Genius event if you're interested. The URL is really long, so I actually built a URL. So if you go to gregbellintwinsburg.com/motherson, it'll redirect you to that Sign Up Genius, and you can sign up to help. That's all I had for this evening. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Brower?
I have nothing further this evening.
Thank you. Mayor?
Nothing else for me.
Mr. Maestros?
Nothing, thank you.
Shannon?
Yeah, just real quick, for the CPR training that we did on Saturday with the fire department, we did about 45, like Mr. Fury said, healthcare providers and just awareness in the community. We also, with that, any of the funds that were raised that they did pay the $10 or the $25, that is going to go right back to the fire department, and they're going to use that money to purchase additional mannequins and dummies and equipment to continue to teach the classes. And they're hoping that every February we'll be able to host one of these annually for residents. So that's our plan going forward with those.
That's great. Good. Well, all right, well, I think that's the end of it. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Ms. McFerrin.
Second.
Okay, I made the motion. It was seconded by Mr. Bellin. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes?
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. That's the end of our legislation, or end of our meeting. So, meeting adjourned.
I think it's more like 35 minutes.